Once a cheater, always a cheater. It was Monday morning and we were sitting at the kitchen table. We'd finished breakfast, and I was drinking my coffee and reading the morning paper. My wife said, "Rob, could you put the paper down? I need to talk to you." I put the paper down on the table and said, "I'm leaving you. I want a divorce," she said. "That's it." I picked up the paper again and started reading the sports section. "I'm serious," she said. "Rob," I ignored her, and she got flustered. Rob put the paper down and said, "Talk to me." "What about it?" "I've got nothing to say but goodbye. It's not such a big loss anyway. You've been useless as a wife for over a year now, so I'm out." I put the paper aside, got up and went to the room I was using as my home office. I grabbed a notepad and pen from my desk and pulled an envelope from one of the drawers. I went back to the kitchen. I sat down at the table and wrote Tom, "Thank you, thank you, thank God she's leaving me," on the top sheet of the note. I was about to put it in an envelope, but then I had a thought. I pulled one of the lottery tickets I had bought the night before out of my wallet and put it in. I added the envelope to my note. Perhaps if you get lucky and win, it will be enough to keep the unfaithful partner happy, so they won't go out and cheat again. Good luck, man. You're going to need it. I signed it, very grateful. Rob folded the sheet, put it in an envelope and sealed it. It wrote the address on it and handed it to Beatrice. "When you see him, give him this." She took it and, with a shocked expression on her face, said, "Do you know just because you think I'm ignorant doesn't mean I really am?" "Perhaps," I said, taking the envelope from her. "I'll mail it." I don't think you'll open it, but if you do, read it and then throw it away. Why don't you go and pack your things and get out of my life? Since you're going to leave, you need to get out of the house as soon as possible. I'm sure I'm not leaving. There's no way I'm leaving here just so you can. I got up, poured coffee into a travel mug, refilled it, and headed off to work. On the way, I stopped by the bank and closed my savings and current accounts. I then went to a bank closer to work and opened new accounts in my name only. Next, I called and canceled all of our joint credit cards and arranged for new cards in my name only. Then I got on with my day. I stayed late after work, had dinner and drinks with my executive assistant, and told her I was back on the market. If her sister was still interested, I said. Stella laughed and said, "Forget your sister. If you're available again, I want to be first in line." Stella started with me as a secretary 10 years ago and proved so valuable that 4 years ago I promoted her to my assistant. I did it to justify the promotion, I said. I made her my executive assistant 2 years ago on a Sunday. I had a backyard barbecue and invited Stella over. She told me she couldn't make it because her sister was in town visiting. So I suggested she bring her sister. Her sister, Tara, was a sexy-looking blonde with a great figure. On Monday, Stella laughed and told me that Tara had a crush on me. I laughed and told her never to tell me about it because I could be and sometimes really was insanely jealous. Now Stella was telling me she was interested in me. I never had any idea that she could have been. I joked that my thoughts were like that. Tara is now second place and I'm in first. I'm not joking. I'm serious. I want to try Stella, but you might not agree when you hear what I have to offer. She wants a divorce, so I'm leaving it up to her and her lover. I have no idea what their schedule might be. Her lover? She hooked up with a guy about a year and a half ago. I think she finally decided that a couple days a week with him wasn't enough, so she decided to go full-time. How long have you known? I've known for about a year and a half. A friend of mine saw her entering a motel room with a man and called me. I hired a private investigator to keep an eye on things for a week, and he gave me all the information I needed. And you did nothing about it for a year and a half. What was I supposed to do? Get angry and turn my life upside down? In this state, divorce is no fault, so everything would have to be split in half. I'd have to sell the house and split the proceeds with her. I'd have to give up the pool, hot tub, my woodworking shop, and 3. I even had to put up with her cooking for me, doing my laundry and cleaning the house. It's unbelievable how quickly love can turn to hate, and then hate turns to indifference. I can't believe a healthy guy like you could go a year and a half without love. I was in a relationship where I didn't have much love. I took any love that was offered, though. She kept seeing him, but I didn't have sex with her on the days I knew she was with him. I just had sex, not love. Do you know why she did that? I have no idea, but it probably wasn't. Do you think she's been with other people? I don't know for sure, but I do know that in the 10 years we've been married, she's been in a certain mood 4 times that I can remember. She's also acted the way she has over the last year and a half. She's been involved with this guy. That's just a guess on my part, but I'd almost bet on it. I think the other times it was for the same reason. If she hadn't been seen and I hadn't been warned, I'd take the recent moodiness as another one of those girl things. I may be wrong in my thinking, but it doesn't really matter. I know about the cheating, and that's all I need to know to realize she's a cheater. What are you going to do now? I'm going to wait and see what she does next. She's on her own now. I've cleaned out her bank accounts, canceled all her credit cards, and told her to leave the house. She wanted a divorce, so I'm leaving that up to her. She doesn't make enough to support herself and pay a lawyer, so she'll have to get money from somewhere else. I don't know if her lover's lawyer will give her a loan. I assume they discussed it before. She's just made my life difficult. If you're really interested in me, you'll be involved with a married man who has no idea how long it will be before he gets divorced. You're thinking wrong, Rob. How's that if she files for divorce? She's in control. You'll be served and it could be bad. You have no idea what she can do. They could order you to vacate the house and leave it to her pending a hearing. What if she files a report and says it's because of mental and physical abuse and gets a restraining order keeping you away from her in the house? You've got to set the pace, boss. You've got to be in control. You need to be in control and make her react, not the other way around. Besides, you're going to be a big help to me. How can you help if you're just going to wait and let her apply what she wants? What if she doesn't? What if her lover won't give her the money to do it? That would put us in the position of adultery, and she can use that against you at some point in the future. You say, she says she cheated, and she does. So do you. If you file, you're saying the marriage is over. What you do from then on is none of her business. Legally, you'll still be married until the divorce is final. Contacting me would technically still be adultery. But no court would use that against you unless it started before you filed for divorce from B. So I think I need to stay away from you until you or B starts the legal process. If we wait for her, it could take years or maybe just a week, but it'll be under her control. If you file, you can meet with your lawyer early tomorrow and serve her by Thursday. I've got the weekend to work on setting you up. I'll hook you up, I promise. Being first on the list is useless if you don't take advantage. She was right, and I knew it, so I used speed dial on my phone to call Josh. Josh and I have been friends since 3rd grade, and he's an attorney who practices family law. I told him I needed his legal services and explained the problem. He was sorry to hear this because he and his wife Sally were our friends and he liked her, but he told me he would take care of it as soon as he got to his office in the morning and then asked me to stop by his office at lunchtime. He could sign the papers and we could go to lunch then. I told him I wanted to get a restraining order, but I didn't. I lied and told him that B had told me that if I got her in any trouble for leaving me, she would make sure her lover Tom Noble set my brains right. Josh laughed and told me that he knew it was pure nonsense, but that he would do it. You know there's a hearing on this order within 10 days. I can get and serve it, but there has to be a hearing before the judge orders it stayed. I know, and I'm prepared for that, but right now the main thing is to get her out of the house and keep her out for a while. We don't have kids, so there's no real reason for her to use the house while the divorce is going on, and I believe in the right to own a gun. It's my property, and I don't see why a judge should order me to get out and let her in. That's what I'm aiming for. I told her to leave when we spoke this morning, but I don't know what I'll find when I get home. She could have gone or she could still be there, since I am not sure where she'll be. I'm planning to serve her at work. There's no chance you'll work something out with her. I don't think there's a chance then. I'll see you tomorrow. I disconnected. I looked across the table at Stella and asked, "What do you have planned for me this weekend?" She laid out her ideas and they seemed pretty good to me. When I got home, Bea was sitting in the kitchen at the table was going through some papers. "Why are you still here?" I asked, walking over to the refrigerator and pulling out a beer. "This is my home too. I'm staying here until I can make other arrangements. If you don't like my company, feel free to move out and bring your lover here." "No way in hell. Sit down and discuss what we're going to do." "There's nothing to discuss. I know what I'm going to do, and I don't care what you're going to do. There are things that need to be worked out." "Rob, no, Beatrick. There's no such thing. It's simple. You said you want a divorce, so go get one. You have to hire a lawyer, you have to file the papers and pay all the legal fees. What I will do is fight you tooth and nail over every little thing. We live in a no-fault state. Everything will be split in half, so we'll have to make decisions about who gets what. I'm going to stall so your attorney fees keep going up. They don't work for free, right? You want the coffee table. Well, guess what? I want that too. You want a couch. That's too bad. It has great sentimental value to me and I just have to have it. Why all of this? Then, all of a sudden, you don't care about any of this. You didn't even show any emotion when I told you I wanted a divorce. All you did was tell me to pack my things and get out. That was before I had time to think about it. I looked her in the eye and took a chance. I let you get away with it the first 3 times because you didn't want a divorce. I loved you enough to keep quiet, and I held on to you because you kept coming back to me." She turned away from me when I said the first 3 times, which as far as I could tell confirmed what I suspected. Now it's hard for me to say why I stayed with you, but I didn't get a divorce. I thought maybe I did something that really upset you and you felt you had to do it to get back at me. Eventually you would end it. I was foolish to think that you were coming back to me because you realized you loved me. I was already looking at my shoes when I thought about the whole thing with Noble. I see now that I was wrong. I've come to realize that you're nothing but a low-life cheater. If you hadn't decided to leave me for Noble, you'd be making love to someone else in 6 months or a year. If you'd left me for Noble and broken things off with him, you'd have been making love to someone else in 6 months or a year. I decided I had to get revenge somehow. What I really want to do is take a thick belt and beat you with it so hard that your skin rips and you bleed out on the floor. But that would only send me to jail. The only thing I can do to stay out of jail is to make the divorce as difficult and expensive as I can for you. If I'm going to stay out of jail, I've got to make the divorce as difficult and expensive as I can for you. You're right, this is also your home. If you choose to stay with CH, I should let you be here, but I don't have to like it and I don't have to socialize with you. Just move your stuff into one of the spare bedrooms and stay away from me. I finished my beer and then went upstairs to what used to be our. I went to bed, thinking I'd done what I set out to do. I'd given her food for thought, and she needed to talk things over with Noble and make decisions. That would take time, which Josh would use to serve Bea and get a restraining order. I could be wrong, though. Bea may have already met with an attorney, and the paperwork may already be headed my way. It's unlikely that I took the balances invested when I canceled the credit cards, and they were about what I expected. When I took the cash out of the bank, it was also about what it should be. If Bea had gone to a lawyer, she would have used our money to pay him. Of course, Noble could pay the bill. All I could do was wait and hope that Josh took the paddle first. I got up and I left the house before Bea came out of her bedroom. I stopped for breakfast at a bed and breakfast, and while I was waiting for my coffee, I made a list of who to call as soon as Bea was served. I wasn't going to let her make me out to be the bad guy. I would tell everyone about the divorce and explain why it was necessary at work. Stella told me that she was really looking forward to it. I caught myself hoping it would happen. I met for lunch and signed the papers. He said he would go to the city-county building after lunch and apply for the divorce. You still want her to come to work, don't you? Of course I do. I'm thinking tomorrow around 10:20. Call me as soon as that happens. I want the locks on the house changed before she can come home. I went back to work and I made arrangements for my next day off before I left the office. I called the locksmith and arranged for a quick service the next day. It cost me a little more, but I felt it was worth it when I got home. Bee's car was in the driveway, but she must have decided to stay in her room and stay out of my way because I never saw her. I got up and left the house before Bee came downstairs. I went to the bed and breakfast for breakfast. Angie asked me where Bee was. She said she'd always seen us together and that I'd been here 2 days in a row without her. She didn't think we'd see each other again. She split the blanket in half and took my order. When she put the bill on the table, she said my phone number was on the back, not the restaurant's number. I lost my voice as Angie walked away. In 2 days, 2 women had shown interest, so why wasn't I enough for the woman I married? I'll never know because I'll never ask. I had coffee and read the morning paper while waiting for the time Bee usually left for work. Then I went home and started packing up Bee's things and moving them into the garage at 10:15. I got a call from Josh saying the paperwork had been delivered, so I called a locksmith and 20 minutes later he was on his way. Not an hour later, Bee flew into the driveway. She couldn't help but notice the wide-open garage door and the big cardboard sign that read, "Bee, all your stuff is here in the garage." She stood there staring at the sign for she tried to get in for a minute, but her keys didn't work. She rang the doorbell but I didn't answer. Eventually she left. I looked in the garage and saw that she had taken a couple of bags of her stuff. 2 minutes after she pulled out of the driveway my cell phone rang. It was Bee. "Hello, did you have to embarrass me in front of my coworkers?" "Workers, it's better than letting you embarrass me in front of mine. What's this about a restraining order? I thought you might ask Noble to come and beat me up for being rude to you. That's an option, I know. I need to get in the house and get some stuff. All your stuff is in the garage. Bee, I didn't change the garage door code, so your opener will work if what you need isn't there. Make a list and tell me where it is. Just tell me where it is and I'll move it to the garage. Stop messing around, Rob. You're making this a lot harder than it needs to be. I'm sorry. I know you're causing me some inconvenience, but I have to do something. If only for the sake of my mental health, I have to do something. Just be thankful that I didn't get violent. Goodbye." I disconnected from Bee after I got on my phone and started calling all the names on my list. Most were shocked to learn that Bee had cheated on me, but 2 weren't surprised. One said, "Finally caught her, huh?" And the other said, "I always had the idea that you had an open marriage. She was always dating some guy, and you never said anything about it. I figured I could cross those 2 off my list of friends." Bee's parents were hurt the most by this information, and they tried to tell me that. I must be wrong. I had always liked them and they treated me almost like the son they never had. But I wasn't going to let them tell me that and turn it around so that it was all my fault. If I let it happen, they would think badly of me and I didn't want that. After resolving the call issues, I went through the house one more time looking for Bee's things and then made myself lunch. I had just finished eating when the guys from Apex Security showed up, not trusting Bee at all and convinced she'd break into the house and violate the restraining order. I decided to install a security system in the house complete with cameras on Thursday at work. I told Stella we were ready to go for the weekend. She smiled and said, "Tomorrow night, then dinner and dancing. That's a start." I was smiling when I got home. Bee had done it. She'd taken some of her things and then sneaked into the house through the adjoining door from the garage. She trashed the kitchen, with plates and glasses smashed all over the floor, and broken several lamps in the living room. The cameras caught it all, a picture of her taking all my clothes out of the closet, dumping them on the floor, and then squatting over them and peeing on them. I couldn't help but smile. This is all on camera, and it shows that she not only violated the restraining order but also engaged in maliciously destructive behavior. It's evidence I could use at the injunction hearing. I called Josh, who called the police. They came, took a report and some pictures, and the next day, Bee was arrested at work and taken to jail. She was fingerprinted, photographed and sat down in front of a judge. She was charged with violating a restraining order and willful destruction of private property. The judge set a hearing date and released her on her own recognizance. I was surprised the case had gotten that far. My date with Stella went well, and we set up a second date for Saturday, which went well too. We went on a picnic again on Sunday. On Monday, the injunction hearing took place. The judge saw the security footage and made the injunction permanent, as well as ordering B to replace all the destroyed items, pay for the dry cleaning of my clothes and pay for the bedroom cleaning. He gave her 10 days to do this or she would go to jail for contempt of court. I hired the most expensive cleaning company I could find, but she actually got the money to do everything the judge ordered. I never waited for her to be held in contempt of court. The next 2 weeks passed, and Stella and I saw each other often, but nothing else happened except for a few kisses sometimes. It was a pretty intense time, because neither of us was comfortable with the fact that I was married. But we were slowly getting to a point where things took a serious turn. I didn't fight the divorce, and 6 months later it was final. It was a standard no-fault divorce, where everything was divided equally. I refinanced the house and bought out B's share. I was saving money in a separate account to pay for an unexpected trip around the world for our anniversary. She didn't know about it, so I didn't give her a dime. She also didn't know about the last 2 certificates of deposit I'd put in the safe. I bought them with my last 2 bonus checks, and I had another small victory. B was entitled to alimony for 2 years or until she remarried, but the amount was only set at $100 a week instead of the $500 she was trying to get. This was unexpected, and Josh told me it was because we were very lucky with the judges to whom my cases were assigned. The judge who attended the injunction hearing and the judge who oversaw the divorce were both very fair. Not only were they cousins, but they also discussed their cases. Both had been cheated on in the past. Neither of them believed that an innocent husband should be punished for the behavior of a cheating wife. They followed the law, but didn't go one step further than it required. Whatever had happened with Noble, it wasn't so great. 7 months after the divorce was finalized, she was living with her parents. It was 8 months after the divorce became final when I was at the bar at the Hilton, drinking a beer and eating a steak sandwich for lunch, when someone sat down on the stool next to me and a voice asked, "Can I buy you a beer?" I looked over and saw my ex. My wife's ex. "I'd like to have a word with you," he said, sounding curious. I invited him to continue, and he waved to Agnes and ordered us both a beer. She brought them over, and he took a sip, set the glass on the counter, and stared at it for a few seconds before starting to peel the label. He took a sip from the first bottle, then said, "I didn't want to mess this up for you without taking my eyes off the bottle." He continued, "The night I met her, she wasn't wearing wedding rings, so I didn't know she was married. She certainly didn't act like a married woman. I saw her at Bud's bar with a group of colleagues. I asked her to dance and she said yes. I bought her a drink, and she invited me to sit with her and the other girls. I danced with her 3 more times and asked her out. She said yes. I fell head over heels in love with her. Within a month we were having sex whenever we could get together. When we started out we had to use motels because I shared an apartment with 2 roommates, and one of them was always around. We couldn't use her apartment because she said she lived with her disabled mother, which was also why we couldn't see each other more often. She was supposed to be taking care of her mother, and could only go out when someone else was available to look after her. I finally got my own apartment, so we didn't have to use motels anymore. Although our meetings were irregular, I had fallen in love with her and was going to ask her to marry me. I was going to buy a house big enough for her mother and me, but before I could pop the question, a guy I knew asked me why I was ready to give him a piece of my mind when he told me that B was married and cheating on her husband. It seems it wasn't the first time. 2 years before that, she had cheated on you with his brother. When his brother found out she was married, he broke up with her. I had a hard time believing it at first, but then I got your letter. I sat on it for a week and then I confronted her face to face. She cried. She didn't love you. It turns out we were abusive and violent towards her. She hated you, but was afraid to leave you. She left you because you told her that if she ever did, you would hunt her down and kill her and whoever she was with. By then, I had done some checking and realized she was lying. I also realized that all thoughts of marrying her were gone. She was a good girl, and you kicked her out at that time, so I let her move in with me as long as she was willing to sleep with me. Everything was fine, but when the divorce was final and she started talking about marriage, I shot her down. My parents split up because my mom cheated on my dad. She got custody of me, and later, she remarried, and then she was caught cheating on her second husband. She remarried a third time and cheated again. I firmly believe that once a cheater always stays a cheater. I told her that as long as she was happy with the live-in friends with the benefits relationship was fine, but nothing more than that. About 3 weeks later, I came home from work, and she was gone. He took another sip of beer and said, "Rumor has it that you knew all along that she and I were doing this. Why did you let it go on and not divorce her? As you said yourself, she was a great girl. I figured, why not? I'd leave it and have a wife and someone to do the cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Things probably would have stayed the same if she hadn't told me she was leaving me and wanted a divorce." He took another sip and then said, "I never thought I'd say this, much less to you, but I miss her in my bed." He finished his beer, stood up, took something out of his pocket, put it on the counter, and motioned for me to take it. "What's this? That lottery ticket you gave me? It's a winner. It's your half. I waited before giving it to you so you wouldn't have to give her half in the divorce. I'll see you later." He walked away. I looked at the paper. It was a cashier's check for a large sum. When I got back to the office, Jean, my assistant, said, "You look like a cat that just ate the canary. Was the lunch that good?" It was a spectacular lunch. Oh, it was. Jean, my assistant, Stella, didn't work for me anymore, at least not in the office. She was at home painting the room that was going to be the nursery when the twins came along.